The foreperson of the Fulton County Special Grand Jury that investigated potential 2020 election interference by former President Donald Trump is speaking out. Emily Kors says she can't say too much because of the judge's order, but she did reveal the grand jury recommended indicting more than a dozen people. That sounds like a lot being revealed, and that many of the names are recognizable. She gave her first television interview to NBC's Blaine Alexander. Watch.
How many people? Was this a long list?
It's not a short list. I'm trying really hard to be careful with that because Judge McBurney had a hearing on the report, as I'm sure you know, and chose specifically to not release the list of people and to only release the certain portions of the report. And I do not want to imply in any way that my judgment is better than the judge. So I've been trying to be really careful with that. I will tell you, it's not a short list. I mean, we saw 75 people, and there are 6 pages of the report cut out, I think, if you look at the page numbers. So it's not.
So we're talking about more than a dozen people?
I would say that, yes.
Did the grand jury recommend an indictment of former President Trump?
I'm not going to speak on exact indictments.
Would we be surprised? Are there bombshells of who is being recommended for indictment?
I don't think that there are any giant plot twists coming. I don't think that there are any, giant, that's not the way I expected this to go at all. I don't think that's in store for anyone.
So nothing that would surprise people who have been following this?
Probably not. I wouldn't want to characterize anyone else's reaction, of course, but so that was when we heard a lot in testimony. But probably not. It probably wouldn't shock you. I would not expect you to be too shocked, no.
And that includes of the former president?
Potentially. Potentially. It might.
Oh, my God. Wow. Joe, just take it away. I don't even know.
Joe,
I'm so confused.
Well, I mean, Willie, the judge says don't talk.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah, I mean, that's some talking going on right there. I mean, she didn't get specific.
What?
Yeah, you know, didn't get specific.
We have George Conway here.
But, yeah, what did you think, Willie? What did you think?
How dare you punt to me? Just punted on third down, Joe. Quick kick.
It's second down, and I'm like, I don't want this. I'm going to shank this one to you, baby.
Okay. Well, here's what I'll say, and we'll get George Conway in for another punt. It wasn't just our interview with Blaine Alexander, who did a great job eliciting some information there. It was also a kind of a media tour for the foreperson. Kors also interviewed by a number of print outlets, including the hometown Atlanta Journal-Constitution. According to the AJC, Kors rolled her eyes and laughed when told former President Trump called the partial release of their report, quote, a total exoneration. The paper writes, did he really say that, she asked. Oh, that's fantastic. That's phenomenal. I love it. That's a quote from Kors. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis convened the grand jury in May of last year. It ended last month. The grand jury's full report will be made public when Willis concludes her investigation. Mara Gay, George Conway. George, I'll start with you. Just from a legal point of view, helpful or unhelpful to have the foreperson of the grand jury out doing a media tour? We have not heard, by the way, from Donald Trump yet, who we expect to have a field day with us.
Well, first of all, I kind of wish the reporter had asked, are any of the defendants more orange than a tangerine? It's not helpful. It absolutely isn't helpful. It's going to give the defendants something to shoot at and something to complain about. But at the end of the day, I think this is just comic relief. Because, first of all, the evidence is the evidence. This isn't even the grand jury that is going to pass on the indictments. This was a grand jury that was designed to prepare a report. It did prepare a report. And what she told us, there were a few little interesting tidbits and hints there, wasn't all that much in the grand scheme of things. I mean, we could have surmised that there were a number of people who were being indicted. And she said there were no major plot twists. Well, okay. Yeah. I don't expect there to have been any major plot twists. And at the end of the day, when these cases, grand jury secrecy gets violated, it usually doesn't affect the trial, because the trial at the end of the day is whether or not you prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt before a petit jury, not the grand jury.
So, Joe, in the interview with the AJC, Coors, the grand jury forewoman, said, "We heard a lot of recordings of President Trump on the phone. It is amazing how many hours of footage you can find of that man on the phone." So alluding, of course, to that infamous phone call with Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, when he specifically asked Raffensperger to find the more than 11,700 votes he needed to flip the state of Georgia.
Right, and we've all said that seems fairly obvious that that's what the grand jury would be focusing on, because obviously you have the President of the United States, at least in the opinion of the Secretary of State of Georgia, a Republican who supported Donald Trump previously, saying that it was obvious the president wanted him to rig the election. But George Conway, just talking about how this grand jury works in Georgia, they don't make the actual indictment. Correct. They make recommendations, and then it'll be Fani Willis who will make the decision whether to make an indictment or not. So while I don't think this was a good thing that the foreperson came out and started talking like it, the legal impact of that at the end of the day on whether an indictment comes or not is minimal, because you've got Fani Willis who's going to be making that decision herself and nobody else. That's right. And not only that, she has to present it to another grand jury. The other grand jury has to vote on it. And I don't think there's going to be any argument that the defendants will have that they were prejudiced by this interview. I mean, she didn't release that much information. The fact of the matter is, most of the evidence, 99% of the evidence that we knew about already from the release of the Raffensperger tape and then the January 6th hearings. So there's going to be no argument that the petit jury, the ultimate decider of fact, is prejudiced in any way. There's just nothing. It's not going to help the defendants in any way.
A timeline, though, on this moving to the next phase. What are we looking at?
I'm going to take Fani Willis at her word that it's imminent. Imminent doesn't. I mean, some people would say imminent means tomorrow, but I think the next couple months. I think she has to do it in the next couple months. I mean, it's clear that she has amassed the evidence that she needs.
Yeah.
And there's no reason to wait. It's been 2 years already.
Yeah.